This is your homework helper, Mrs. Anderson. Today I will help you with Lesson 6, Patterns. Please have your homework page ready and let's begin. In this homework helper section, it says that Tom is allowed to download 3 new songs each week. The table shows the total number of songs he can download for several weeks. Extend the pattern to find the next 3 terms. So on week 1, Tom downloads 3 songs. On week 2, he has a total of 6. Week 3, a total of 9, and week 4, a total of 12. Well, we know that each week he can have 3 more songs. So from 3 to 6, we're adding 3. Then from 6 to 9, we're adding 3. And from 9 to 12, we're adding 3. So what we want to do is identify the pattern, which is plus 3, and then extend it. So if I were going to go 1 more week, 5 weeks, I would add plus 3, or I would have 15. Okay, so let's look at these ones. We're going to basically do the same thing. We're going to identify the pattern, and then we're going to continue the pattern by writing the next 3 terms. All right, so here I have 5, 10, 20, 40. The first thing I do is I look at the relationship between 5 and 10, or basically, what do I have to do to get from 5 to 10? I can plus 5, and I can times 2. All right, so let's look at from 10 to 20. Well, I can add 10, and I can times 2. Well, already I can see that this pattern is going to be times 2 because these numbers are not the same. So I'm going to be timesing by 2. So let's make sure. We'll go 20 times 2 is 40, so that worked. So now we're going to go 40 times 2 and write that number, and then times 2 again and write that number, and times 2 again and write that number. So we identified the pattern, which is times 2, and then we write the next 3 terms. Let's look at number 2. Here we have 63 to 58. What I'm noticing here is I'm going backwards this time. When I go backwards, I'm either subtracting or I'm dividing. So let's see. If I'm going from 63 to 58, I'm subtracting 5. To go to 63 to 58, I'm not dividing, so that's not going to work. Oh, so it looks like my pattern's going to be minus 5. Let's check it. If I go from 58 to 53, is that also minus 5? Yes, it is. So there's the pattern. I identified the pattern. Now I need to figure out the next 3 numbers. So I go at 48 and minus 5, and then minus 5 again, and then minus 5 again. All right, I'm going to help you with number 3 because this one is a little bit tricky. I notice that we're going backwards again, so I'm either subtracting or I'm dividing. If I subtract 192 minus 96, I get 96. Oh, so I'd be subtracting 96. And then subtracting 96? No. If I subtract 96, I'm going to be down to 0. So I know that subtract 96 is not going to work. So it must be division. What am I going to divide? Now this is very interesting because I found out when I subtract 96 that I get 96. So that tells me that 192 divided by 96 is basically going to be 2. I think I'm going to be dividing by 2 because 96 times 2 is 192. I wonder what if 48 times 2 would be 96. I bet so. Let's check it. 48 times 2. Aha! It's going to be 96. So I know that I am dividing by 2. So I'll need to divide by 2. Okay, or the other thing I can do is start with this number and times by 2. Now I'm at 24. I'll need to divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. All right, on this one, you're going to identify the pattern. It looks like we're going up, so it's going to be plus or multiply. And then you'll identify the 3 terms in each sequence. All right, here on the back, we have Dino's Diner charges $4 for each sandwich, and Carla's Cafe charges $8 for each sandwich. Write the total cost of 1, 2, and 3, and 4 sandwiches for each restaurant, then compare the total cost of 4 sandwiches at each restaurant. Okay, so here I have Dino's Diner. $4 each for one sandwich. I think on the top row I'm going to write, I think I'll put Dino's Diner on the second line. And up here I'll do one sandwich, two sandwich, three sandwiches, four sandwiches. I know that at Dino's Diner it costs $4 per sandwich. So I need to figure out how much two sandwiches would be. Well, it's going to be 4 plus 4 basically, or 4 times 2. So two sandwiches is going to be $8. Then I'll write down how many 3 sandwiches will be and how many 4 sandwiches will be. Then I'll do Carla's Cafe. Well, Carla's Cafe's sandwiches cost $8. So I'll do the same thing here and write down how much each sandwich will be. Then the last thing it's asking me to do is to compare the total cost of 4 sandwiches. So I'll need to look at this sandwich and tell what I noticed. Like, is one sandwich 2 times more than the other? Is one sandwich 5 times greater than the other? I need to figure that out and write it down. Okay, let's look at number 5. Luke always runs 1 lap to warm up for track practice. Alex always runs 3 laps to warm up for track practice. Write the number of total laps ran for 1, 2, 3, and 4 practices for each student. Then compare the total number of laps ran for 3 practices for both students. I think I'm going to do this the very same way. I'm going to have Luke and I'm going to have Alex. We'll have 1 practice, 2 practices, 3, and 4 practices. Okay, Luke always starts with 1 lap to warm up, and then we'll continue on. So if he starts with 1 lap for track practice, then when we get to the second track practice, he'll have run another lap, and we're looking for the total, so that'll be 1 plus 1, 2, and then I'll continue on with this same pattern. Now, Alex always runs 3 laps. If he always runs 3, then we need to think how many laps he'll run here, and here, and here. And then the last thing it's asking us to do is to compare these numbers, to compare the total of laps ran for 3 practices by both students. So you could say something like Alex runs twice as much, 3 times as much, 4 times as much. You'll need to look at this number in order to determine it. Okay, let's move to number 7. Fill in each blank with the correct word to complete each sentence. A sequence is a list of numbers that follow a specific, starts with a P, and it's what we're doing. That's all I'm going to tell you. And each number in the list is called starts with a T, and it has been in each of these problems. It's said things like, then write the next 3 terms. Okay, and let's move on. Which represents the next 3 terms in the sequence? Okay, you'll need to figure out what's happening from 8 to 16 and what's happening so far. Hey, thanks for watching this homework helper video. If you have questions, feel free to ask me tomorrow at school.